Hey, welcome World Entertainment, and breaking news is rocking Hollywood right now. And that news is that Warner Brothers Discovery is going to split into two separate companies because Warner Brothers Discovery's debt crisis is getting insane. And they are basically looking for a drastic overhaul, how to basically split the money away from being this giant number, which is over $50 billion for anyone who didn't know. So their strategy now is to split into two companies. However, it looks like they're going to do it by going public, i.e. into the trade market where you can buy shares. Now, we've seen companies before that have done this and have been very successful in doing this. It's just a case of, well, if you're 50 billion in debt, your shares probably aren't going to be all that expensive, so anyone and everyone could probably buy into this right now. And then it's the case of, are they actually going to do anything that actually makes the value of your company grow again? But let's have a look at this, because this is big news. So, in a dramatic move that signals the beginning of the end for legacy cable conglomerates, Warner Brothers Discovery has announced plans to split into two separate publicly traded companies by mid-2026. The announcement, made Monday morning, marks a stunning reversal for a company once seen as a symbol of media empire consolidation. Under the restructuring, Warner Brothers Discovery will separate into a streaming and studios company led by current CEO David Zaslav, and a global networks company which will be headed by current CFO Gunnar Windefels, I think is how you pronounce it. The streaming and studio arm will house Warner Brothers Pictures, Warner Brothers Television, DC Studios, HBO, and the Max streaming platform. Meanwhile, the global networks business will retain cable-focused assets including CNN, TNT Sports, Discovery Channel, TBS, and other linear networks. Zaslav called the move a strategic pivot. By operating as two distinct and optimized companies in the future, we are empowering these iconic brands with the sharper focus and strategic flexibility they need to compete most effectively in today's evolving media landscapes, he said in a press release. But behind the corporate spin lies a much harsher reality. Warner Brothers Discovery is drowning in debt, stuck between a crumbling cable model and an unforgiving streaming market. This breakup may be its last best hope for survival. And that is the thing here that we're talking about. The fact that their movies are pretty much failing at the most part because they're putting too much money into the movies. Like we see now, Superman coming out. What are they trying to claim? Oh, the movie cost us $225 million. That's already far too high. But we know the real number is $363 million. And now we are being told that no, they're not spending the $100 million on marketing. No, apparently they're not even spending the $150 million. They have in fact spent $200 million on the Superman marketing, putting this movie well over $500 million, meaning it has to make in and around $1.2 billion just to break even. You can't keep doing that. And this isn't just about Warner Brothers doing it. This is for every studio. And when they're putting money like that into streaming, you're kind of going, okay, how can you possibly survive? We've already heard Tony Gilroy turn around and say, oh yeah, Disney flat out told me that Disney Plus, it's dead, that there's no money in it, they can't afford to keep the thing going, that like they're not pumping money that they should be into all these shows anymore because they can't. And that comes after you find out for 2 seasons of Andor they spent $650 million. For The Acolyte they spent over $230 million. You can't keep doing that and expecting these things to work out and survive. Now, the issue as well when it comes to Warner Brothers is, yeah, Max, it's quite popular, even though they apparently have reverted it back to actually being called HBO Max, because whatever genius decided to drop the HBO made no sense. But it's still struggling. So it's popular, but it's struggling. It's like Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus has some fantastic shows on there. Mobland, it's got Tulsa King, it's got Landman, it's got all this stuff. Yellowstone, all that. But it's a tiny streaming service compared to the majority of them because it doesn't have all that much of new stuff on there. That's the other issue when it comes to streaming, is you had these companies panic and buy all these different outlets just so they could fill the whole streaming platform. Look at Disney. The reason they bought Fox is so they could have content to drop on Disney Plus. Bob Iger himself has said that. And it's like, you spent $73 billion to fill a streaming service when you already had a treasure trove of content, your own content that you could have just put on there. That is the issue. And Warner Brothers was in debt before Zaslav came in. That's why Zaslav was able to come in and buy it, because they were sinking and they needed someone to purchase it. So Discovery went in there and bought it under him. And of course, they immediately had backlash when he said, okay, we need to change things. And they pushed back. But now what do we see? The last six DC movies failed at the box office. 6 of them in a row. The last hit they actually had from DC, and it barely was a hit, was The Batman. So you're looking at the money they're pumping into these things, and it's failing. And of course, everybody got excited about Harry Potter, the series. They were like, oh my god, they're gonna do Harry Potter. And then what did they do? Their first casting announcement was, oh, we're gonna do a Black Snape. And everyone went, and the show is dead. The Dune prophecy that came out was a failure. People looked at it and went, oh, this sucks, and oh look, you literally just used it as a vehicle for girl power. And it flopped. Nobody liked it. Now, it had actually nothing to do with the movie. It was actually not connected to the movie, apparently. But it still flopped big time. You're pumping all this money into these things. Of course, they've announced, oh, we're bringing back Lord of the Rings. What do you get told it's going to be? The Hunt for Gollum. And people are like, we don't care about The Hunt for Gollum. And then, of course, the War Hero came out and went, oh, this is terrible. And that bombed. How do you keep a company upright and out of debt when you're pumping so much money into these things that fail, that nobody wants? They're not listening to the audience. And that's what you need to do. And again, that's not just for Warner Brothers. That's for all of them. When people are going, you can't keep doing this. This just doesn't work. It fails. And you keep doing it. How do you expect to survive? Look at Fantastic Four coming out. Everybody went, I bet you anything it's going to be a big girl boss movie. And what happens? Oh yeah, Sue Storm's leading the charge. And who's the Silver Surfer? Oh yeah, it's the female Silver Surfer. And we know how the movie ends. That's all come out now. And yes, it's a big girl boss moment. It's like, you've learned nothing. Even when you go in the other direction and you get winning films, Deadpool and Wolverine, whatever you think about the movie, it wasn't a girl boss movie. They actually just went, you know what, just do what you need to do. The thing made over $1 billion. What did they do? They learned all the wrong reasons. Went, cameos must be what they love, so let's just fill our crap with cameos. They just keep doing the same thing over and over again. That is why Warner Brothers desperately needs Superman to be a hit. And no, in the eyes of the public, the hit needs to be that it's well received and it makes over 700 million. Internally, they need, and desperately need it, to actually break that $1 billion mark, to actually start earning money. They can't keep putting movies out and saying, oh look, it did really well in the eyes of the critics and stuff, when it loses hundreds of millions of dollars. That's not going to sustain your company. So this idea that they're going to go public with the company, yeah, it kind of makes sense for them to get this kind of saving grace. It really is a Hail Mary throw. But you're also asking people to come in and invest in your company, and your company's not doing anything to truly really make them think, we're onto a winner here. It's going to be interesting to see what actually happens with this. So we'll keep our eyes and ears open. And with that, I shall leave it there for this one. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.